If I could only shoot with one lighting setup, this would probably be it. Hey guys, my name is Kayla Mendez and I'm a commercial beauty and lifestyle photographer based in Los Angeles, and I'm also the founder of the Sunroom School, an educational community for photographers and videographers who want to work with brands they love. And so if you're new here, welcome. I'm so excited to be diving into one of my go-to beauty lighting setups that I think is so versatile and a great beginner lighting setup that can be done with 1 to 2 lights. And so let's go ahead and dive in. So for this lighting setup, I have used it in a bunch of different scenarios where I've needed to set up lights quickly, or I was just looking for something really simple that I could kind of build from as the shoot went on. And so you can see in some of these references that I'll pop up on screen, this lighting is beautiful, it's flattering, it's soft, but it can also be manipulated to kind of create whatever kind of look that you're going for relatively. And so we'll go ahead and dive into the different ways that you can customize this beauty look. And so to execute this lighting setup, you're going to need and start with One Strobe. I usually use the Godox 8400, and it's kind of my go-to strobe. I personally use Godox over Profoto just for my personal projects because of the accessibility and the price point. It's a versatile, powerful strobe that will absolutely get the job done. But you can use any strobe that is around 300 to 200 watts, should get the job done, depending on how big of a space that you're going to be shooting in. But I always start with that strobe, and then the key is to get a large umbrella with a diffusion sock. And so once you add that layer of diffusion over your modifier, it's going to create this really soft, flattering lighting that is just kind of like the lighting you're seeing now. It's very soft and flattering for your subject. And the best thing about adding that sock material is that you can easily take it off to kind of create a secondary harder lighting look to bring out more shine and specularity in your model skin. The exact modifier that I use is the Godox 130 umbrella with the white lining inside. That is this guy here. And so as you can see, it is super compact, really easy to travel with, super quick to set up and tear down, which for me, I love, because usually when I'm shooting with clients, we're on a tight timeline. I don't have like forever to set up. I usually will give myself 30 minutes to set up, and that's enough for me when I start with this lighting. It's a large enough modifier to fill, I would probably say, half of your model's body. So it's perfect. I wouldn't need to add another light unless I was shooting like full body. So for portraits, waist up, beauty stuff, this modifier is super versatile. It's also cost effective. It's a great one if you are a beginner looking to invest in a new modifier. I honestly wish I would have invested in an umbrella first before my traditional softboxes, because I feel like this is so much easier, so much lighter to travel with, and I could just set it up relatively faster. So once you have your modifier set up, you will then place it probably 3 feet away from your subject at a 45-degree angle down towards your model's face. You can have it on either side. You can have it directly in front of your model, off to the side, off to the other side. It's totally fine depending on the look that you're actually going for. So you could literally stop right here and create something absolutely beautiful. But if you wanted to add in additional elements to create different looks, the next thing I would add to this lighting setup is a fill. Usually, if you have a silver reflector, that will get the job done. You put this under the model's chin, and what this does is reflect your key light source. That light bounces up from the fill, and it reflects onto your subject's face, filling in any of the shadows that you would like. So I'm going to show you an example of that really quickly. I have a silver reflector here, and I'm just going to place this really quickly under my chin. And you can see just how much of a difference that makes. Super flattering beauty lighting. And honestly, with this right here, you're good to go. A beautiful fill light that fills in all those shadows to create a really soft, beautifully lit lighting setup that is called traditionally the clamshell lighting. And honestly, your favorite beauty photographers all use some version of this lighting. So you can literally do so much with just this. And if you don't have, any sort of professional reflector, you can also take some aluminum foil, some mylar paper, place it under your model's chin, and you have some really cheap reflection material. So you can get really creative with what you use for this setup. So don't feel like you need to go buy a bunch of different reflectors and things. You can probably use what you already have on hand. And so the next thing I would add to this, if I had the space to do so, would be 2 V-flats on either side of the model. And depending on the look you are going for, you could use the black side or the white side. The black is going to subtract light and add more contrast to your model's face. If you choose the white side, it's going to brighten and add more highlights to your model's face. I honestly would say if you're shooting in a really small space, you don't necessarily need to add the V-flats. They just add another layer of control when it comes to your lighting. So usually when I'm shooting in my home apartment, I don't have too much space, so I usually don't add the V-flats. But if I have the space and the supplies, I will add them because it does add those subtle details that really beautifully shapes the light. And so for the final step of this lighting setup is to check out your background. Do you like how it's lit, or do you need to add an additional light source? And so this is kind of optional depending on the space that you're shooting in. If you're shooting in a really small space and your model is really close to your background, you probably won't need to add this secondary light source. But if your model is really separated from your background, most likely you're going to need to light your background with a secondary light source. Maybe even a third light source if you're shooting in a really big area, but most likely you'll be able to get away with that second light. So the way you can light your backdrop is through a multitude of ways. And you can do this by bouncing light or shooting that strobe directly into your backdrop. Obviously, you can take a zoom reflector or bare bulb and angle and position the strobe into your backdrop to light the background that way. But if you have white ceilings, you could also angle that strobe up into your ceilings and act as a big kind of like bounce card, and you could bounce the light that way. You could also, if you have a V-flat, you could also angle the strobe bare bulb into the V-flat. And you want to make sure that when you're lighting the backdrop that you give yourself some time to dial in that light, because most likely that lighting will vary in power depending on what you're shooting. So just give yourself time to really test it out, try different powers to really ensure that you're getting the color of the backdrop that you truly want. With those simple steps, that's pretty much it. You will have a beautiful, simple lighting setup that can be your go-to for all your beauty shoots. If you want to learn some other beauty lighting setups that I use very frequently, as well as my go-to camera settings when I'm shooting in studio with strobes, you can download the Beauty Lighting Guide, which I will link in the description below. It is completely free, and it also includes my foolproof camera settings and a link to all the gear that I use on my commercial beauty projects, which I think is going to be super helpful for you if you're looking to get set up with the essentials for starting your beauty photography journey. I hope you found this video helpful. If you love the content that I'm sharing and you want to see more of it, I would super appreciate if you could leave it a like, a subscribe. It is like a little hug for a creator like me, and it means so much to this channel that is growing. I am so excited to create more content like this for you guys. So if you have any questions, topics you want me to cover, you can leave them in the comment section below. I will be hanging out there answering all of your questions to make sure that everything makes sense and you're able to execute this on your own projects. So with that, I want to say thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.